Uh, our relationship started in 2017, but if we take a step back prior to that, in 2016, I had a chance to meet Chris Taylor. He's the CMO. I went to I went to WordCamp US. As we had a chance to talk, I was sharing with him some of the things that we were doing in the city of Detroit because we started out as Rebrand Detroit inside of neighborhoods. And so we had this interesting moment where we talked about what if we piloted an idea and started working with small businesses inside of neighborhoods. And so it was Super Bowl weekend. Chris activated quite a few different developers. They flew out, and that's where the project was really birthed in terms of our relationship with WordPress. And so it's been a great relationship. The WordPress community is a very nurturing community. It's a community of extremely passionate people. And so I have found it to be like the perfect community to be able to work with entrepreneurs that don't get that kind of love, right? A lot of the entrepreneurs that we work with they work in the cities that we live, work, and play in, but they're not the shiny story that everybody talks about. And so having the right kind of community and culture around those kind of entrepreneurs, we find just really brings out the best in them and really gets them energized to be able to tell their story. So Rebrand Cities is a global design initiative, and our total focus is to get 10,000 businesses that are offline online. And really, when we say crushing the digital divide, what we realize are that there are a lot of digital challenges, and so what we do is that we create these experiences in cities, and these experiences include providing branding resources and insights and workshops. We do the actual web development for the business owner. Most of our business owners are working 10 and 12-hour days, so their heads down, trying to keep the doors open. And so we want to take this off their plate. And what we found is that if you have a beginning and a finite end and a specific deliverable, something that they understand is tangible, and you make them a part of the process, then they can engage and really be involved in bringing this to get it across the finish line. And so what we found is that our co-creation process with the business owners it's not only refreshing, but it's a learning opportunity for us because we learn more about cities, we learn more about the business owners and the industry than the verticals that they're in. And so we've used this as almost like our own personal MBA program in terms of learning. Sometimes we look at learning as being one way, and we think that if you're bringing resources or opportunities in, that the people or business owner that you're working with should be grateful, but I think we should be just as grateful as well.
Mm-hmm. You said about the 10,000 businesses, so what was the status now?
We're making good progress. We have activations in at least 6 cities. We have multiple cohorts. We're activating international cities. We're having conversations with cities like Liverpool, and so cities outside of the U.S. And so we're very excited about where things are going. We're creating really good relationships and city partners. Our goal is really geared on scaling. So we're always looking to identify channel partners that are inside the community that we want to get to. And so our goal is that we want to have an activation happening somewhere around the globe every single week. And that means that it's not just me being the face of it, but identifying ambassadors and people who live and work in the community that we're going to. Who do I think? I can look just at the team. I can look at some of the work that John Maid is doing, right? Or John Maid is doing. Just looking at some of the things that he's doing, with the team, having the chance to have a conversation with Kenzie Wilson, and just kind of just his background and his thought process on telling the arc of stories. I can see how that work is going to be very paramount towards making WordPress.com a platform that is one that that people look at as being the gold standard for turnkey solutions for websites. And so those are 2 that I know I've had a chance to be able to work with. I've had a chance to work with Allison, who's doing design ops, and just just kind of talking with her and just understanding her philosophy in terms of things that she wants to do, in terms of how to structure the team and things like that. So just the people that I've had a chance to interface with, to me, have been amazing, and they're part of the core team. So I think Matt obviously is assembling like a really superstar team, but not in name, but in work ethic, and people who are bringing something to the table, who are like really committed to this open source community.
Now that we're talking about the WordPress community, can you describe the community in one word?
Community in one word. I would say passionate. You know, and I know that that's a word that's like really overused, but when I interact with people, whether it's in the developer community, the creatives, like people, like they love the work that they're doing, and you can see that it's not only about making money or things like that, but they really want to make a difference. And so it's been really interesting working with people that are real people. And so I've had a chance to interact with a lot of really good people who are just the genuine people who they really like what they do. It's critical. I think when you start to think about, if you think about the fringes of things, I think when you think about the fringes, it makes things better for everybody. And so even as I look at our society, I began to look at the wealth gap, and I think the technology gap, if we're not very careful, makes the wealth gap even wider. And so giving people access and just helping people to understand, because the pace of technology is moving so fast, and making sure that people understand about being present or being visible. And so I know if I go into a city and I'm looking for something, if I go into Google Maps and I don't see you, or if I don't see you in Yelp, and those things connect back to sites, and then I go on to the next. And so it's those small things in terms of working with the business owner, just to get them to think about, okay, we have to make sure that we're present, but we have to make sure that it represents your business properly. And so for us, what we're trying to really communicate to them is that this website is a lever. It's not an end-all, be-all. It doesn't mean that all of a sudden you have 1 million people at your door. But what it does, it gives you an opportunity to be where your customers are at, and a way to be able to connect with them. And so as we do the work we're doing, that we're creating assets for them to be able to use. So there are photo shoots that are part of that process. So now those photos can go into websites, and they can be used for marketing material and things like that. So every single thing that we do, we're embedding all of the digital breadcrumbs and all the things that are a part of making them involved in the conversation that's happening online, making them embedded into the ecosystem, and understanding the players and the different things that can, help them to be able to connect with their customer, but also realizing that they don't need 1 million people following them, that if they can get 100 people that are buying their services on a regular basis. And the other part of the work that we're doing, ultimately, it's not just about crushing the digital divide, but it's really about making businesses more successful. And so to do that, so in every city, there's transformation that's taking place. And what you'll find in these cities is that it's not just a transformation that's happening, it's that cities are becoming places that I'm hopeful that we're making places for all people. But at the same time, the rent is rising and things like that. And so what can we do to help them to become sustainable and resilient in times like that? So our work of getting websites, and so one example is that we have a young lady in Newark. Her site is called Mommy May, and so once we launched her site, she had an event, posted it. She generated $1,000 in 4 days. So that might not seem like a lot of money to a lot of people, but to a small business, one of the things that we talk about is predictable income, and so trying to drive those kind of regular occurring activities, so that when the rent starts to rise in these communities, that they'll be able to maintain their space because they're generating more money with websites. So it's not just about the utility of a site, but making it so they can drive revenue. They need to connect with Rebrand Cities. No, but I'm being facetious on that one. But I think as far as things that I think business owners should do is that I think people connect with authentic stories, and so I think in the world that we live in, it's so easy to try to chase something that's not real. And so you can look at Instagram, and there's a lot of stuff that I'll see that I think could be, there's a lot of sizzle to it, there's a lot of visual appeal, but a lot of stuff that we see is not real. So I think trying to be authentic and creating a story or a narrative that people can actually connect to, I think becomes important, because you have an opportunity to be able to connect with your customers directly. So I think understanding your story and being able to tell that compelling story, I think is critically important. And I think also knowing your customer. In the design thinking space, one thing that we talk about is getting out of the classroom and getting out of the office. But the main thing is talking to real customers. And so part of what we do is that we have an avatar of our customer. So an example of our customer, we have Margie Johnson, or Mia X, who's a spoken word artist in Newark, New Jersey. And so we have a picture of her up. She's a mother of 4. She is an entrepreneur, and so she's in her mid-30s. And so we look at that profile, and it reminds us of the work that we're doing and who we're working for. And it's not just about we're just doing this just to do it, but this is the person that we're targeting. So a lot of our customers are not necessarily early adopters of technology, and so we know that, and so we know that the solution that we're bringing to the table works perfectly to be able to get them to first base, and then we can look to help them to be able to scale. An inspiring story. One of the inspiring stories I think for us is when we started. What we realized is that we had originally started this project, and when we started the project was about bringing an accelerator to the Grandmont Rosedale community. And when we originally got funded by the Knight Foundation, what we realized is that the work that we were doing, we were solving the wrong problem. And but that work helped to propel the work that we're doing today, and it helped us to pivot, because what we realized is that we just needed to work on one thing, and that one thing was making people visible in a digital standpoint. And so it's those kind of aha moments that happen when you have a chance to work in a community, because in the neighborhood that we're working in, there was a coffee shop that was generating $3,500 a month. That was not profit, that was revenue. And so when you think about businesses like that, that's a non-sustainable business. And so it's those stories that we look at to say, okay, how can we help that particular business to be able to generate more money? And so when we look at that business, we help them to get acquired. And so helping them to get acquired was an important part of that project, because it helped that business owner transition into what was next. And so we have a lot of businesses that we've had a chance to work with that have been awesome. Bricks Detroit, they were a part of WordPress.com's first ever TV commercials. And so being able to take this newly minted business that had just gotten started, and they're part of a TV commercial that was in 6 different markets, you're looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of media buys that they got, and it didn't cost them anything. And so now their business is successful, is growing. And so it's those kind of stories that we have a chance to be able to take to a larger community that really makes us proud of the work that we're doing.